Well, hi, my name is Vanessa Hoyes, and I am an independent Lifeway brand partner. And what that means is that we just get the honor and the privilege of sharing about this incredible wearable light technology all around the world. Wherever we go, we talk to people. So today you're seeing a testimonial only call. What that means is that there's a lot around the technology and a lot around the science and the inventor and the company that's over 20 years old and all the rest of it. But what we really are doing today is just telling stories. I will just show right now a disclaimer around the way we tell stories, just so you understand when you see this later or someone presents this to you that we are not sharing here medical advice, even though I actually have a doctor on today as well. But this is personal experiences from personal use. So we are not diagnosing, treating, or talking about cures for diseases, but everyone's body and journey are different, and we always encourage personal responsibility and professional medical guidance when making your own autonomous health decisions. I also love to say off the back of this, your doctor may be unfamiliar right now with what is light therapy, light technology, how it's being used around the world in treatment, but also they may not know of the simplicity of wearing a patch that is non-chemical, non-toxic, non-invasive. This is using a light frequency. And so you can hear more about the technology when you talk to your brand partner who shares this with you. But I'm so excited today because we're just going to hear some personal use stories from someone that's become a great friend of ours on our team, but also just very well known, loved, and respected in his community, professionally, but also personally in our wider team as well. So I'd love to introduce Dr. Anton to you, and he's going to share some stories of use and also what he's noticing with other people that are also using this patch technology. Thank you so much, Dr. Anton.
Yeah, thanks, Vanessa. Thanks very much, and thanks for everyone who's on the call and to anyone who, gets to listen to this recording afterwards. So, yeah, so firstly, I'll sort of talk about it from my, very just personal point of view, and then I can touch on a little bit on what I've seen in practice and just from maybe more professional or, my health practitioner hat is what I would say. So for me, I was introduced to this sort of early-ish last year, but effectively got onto the patches in end of May, early June. I was introduced by the fabulous Natasha Zavala and her husband Tom, who obviously Andrew and Vanessa know very well, and other people on the call. And it's interesting, like as a chiropractor, I've been around. I get a lot of things presented to me in the health and wellness field, and I feel like I know a reasonable amount. But there's always, there's new bright shiny objects out there all the time, but it's ultimately it sort of comes down to sort of essentially supplements, and then there's stuff more in the in other areas too. So this was I'm just saying this. So even with all that, I'd never heard of LifeWave. I'd never heard of the technology as such, like this patch. So I was intrigued. I'm also, as a professional, I have to be a little bit cautious, I would say, because I can't just like go, oh yeah, okay, right. I need to go, okay, tell me more. But Tash comes with a lot of credibility. So the first thing there was just I was like, okay, well she's she runs a clinic on the Sunshine Coast that does amazing work. So her credibility obviously helped a lot. And then I spoke to Andrew and Vanessa at the time. So, but firstly, what I want to emphasize, I just wanted to do this for me to begin with because it was, and then with a view to obviously how could this help my family, my loved ones, and my clients, and then people around the world, which I will touch on too. But I also want to share in this testimonial, this is very much, I'm a like a pretty healthy person. So this is not all about, oh, I've got this terrible chronic whatever issue, disease, whatever you want to call it. For me, I'm a very wellness care focused person. So I'm like, hey, I feel pretty good, but I'm now over 60. Like, what can I do to stay well, keep vibrantly healthy? And dare I say, when the words anti-aging and age reversal came into the conversation, I was like, really? Okay. Because, I don't know about other people on the call, but over a certain age, and I've always looked like young for my age, but you can't kind of kid yourself when you're over 60. I'm just going to say that. So, so I was like, came into this and just went, okay, well, let's just see what happens. And then I'll just, so firstly, frankly within 24 hours, and then it became really obvious within a week. The first thing that happened was I felt this like lift in my mood and a kind of positive energy, like a positive. I was like, I just feel more positive would be the best way of saying it. But like a lot of people, it's like, oh, could be placebo, which I hear from a lot of people. I'm like, I felt that too. And then it just was really consistent. And say a week or two in, I just realized as I was on my laptop that my focus and concentration had just like moved to a whole other level. Enough for me to actually suspect I had ADHD, or at least whatever mild version. We've all get labeled with these things. And I was like, oh wow, I this is really interesting. And knowing more about the patches, this is a reflection of brain coherence coming back as inflammation is reduced in the body. And the point is that has just been utterly consistent ever since. Then say 2 to 3 weeks in my sleep was improving. I actually wanted to sleep more, which was interesting, which I think is sort of like a healing sort of process. But the big thing was my dreams just went off the hook, like lucid dreaming, a lot of recall of dreams. And that just hasn't stopped in 6 to 7 months. It can get a little tiring at times, but it's pretty interesting. And I think the point is it's a reflection of that brain coherence and the higher, like cognitive awareness, I would say. And then from a physical front, so that was, I started to, people started to comment on my skin, for example, but the things for me at 4 months, so the thing is not everything happens overnight, and you really have to allow for these stages to occur. So the cognizant stuff was very quick, because the brain responds fast if there's changes. Um, but from a physical front, or my body, if you like, um, after 4 months, I had this skin tag on my eye, like this really daggy looking thing that really kind of annoyed me. It didn't physically annoy me. It just was like upsetting because it made me look old and I didn't like it. But the idea of somebody cutting it off my eyelid, I was like, oh, I don't really want to even talk to the doctor about this. But at 4 months, I'd heard that skin tags can drop off. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's interesting. I literally woke up one morning and it was just gone and it's just perfect skin underneath. And I went, God, these things really work. And they do so in mysterious ways. Um, and then the other thing that happened at about 12 weeks onwards was I did some laps in the pool. I hadn't done laps for ages, so it wasn't like I was, I keep reasonably fit, but there's, what it's like. There's different fitness for different activities. And I just felt this power. It was like this, like push through. I was like, oh my God, I feel like I've been training for weeks or months. Like this is a whole different level. So we learn to calibrate if you're tuned into your body that there's these shifts and they can be kind of subtle, but you sort of almost need to be aware of looking for them, I would actually have to say. Otherwise, you sort of just take stuff for granted or don't realize that. And then, so finally, and just, for myself, yeah, the fact is all these things just keep continuing. Like I've always had, like, this is my natural hair color, which is like just plain genetic hitting the right number on the roulette wheel. I'm just going to call that a genetics, but it has got softer and it was starting to thin a tiny bit. I was like, no way, but that's gone. Like it's just thickened back up, is what I would say. So it's been quite profound for me personally. Can't imagine not wearing these patches after this because I can just see it just sort of keeps on rolling on. And who knows what's happening on the inside with heart health and all those other things that we know about. So then I'll finally just end with, in terms of like as a practitioner with, because I've obviously recommended to my, not just patients, but like friends and people that I have around the world. Um, the most common feedback is particularly the cognizant stuff. People notice their mood shifting, and that, that I had a patient. He's a healthy guy, man in his 80s, but the first thing he noticed was he just said, "Oh, I just feel like the motivation of what I had when I was a young man coming back. I actually kind of, oh, what can I do today?" And get up and he's a very, hands-on person. But and then he also noticed his hair getting thicker. And I've had a few people, in their 70s and 80s sort of saying that. So people notice all different things, but the cognizant thing, kind of, and from that, the final thing I'd say is, interestingly, because we don't talk about this, it kind of, and I know Andrew's commented on this, there is a mental health aspect to this, as in feeling calmer, more grounded, able to focus actually translates into just feeling better about things because you can also get things done more effectively. And there's just a calm energy that comes along with that. So there you go. That's my story.
I am so grateful to hear, first of all, personally, if with your permission, can I show you the what you posted in the chat, just your before and after
Oh yeah,
picture?
if you've been able to get that up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do actually. I'm just going to show it to you here. Actually, here's Martins. We often focused on, we shared Martins last week, actually. So, but I love this because what we tell people all the time is do not take pictures because you don't know what you don't know, right? And what might actually be captured. And so this is Martins before and he's been patching for over a year, but this is yours next to each other. So just talk about some of the things you notice here with yours, Anton.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things that I hadn't really, I started to notice this about 2 months ago was just my neck, like just like that kind of like craggy old looking neck going. These bags under my eyes have just like steady, they got started happening relatively, got flatter. And that used to annoy me because I was like, hey, look, what's the deal with these bags? And I think the sleep is obviously a big factor there. And then, the hair doesn't look, but my hair's got softer actually, and
Yeah,
someone actually commented on the luster of my hair. Well, that was the word they used. I don't know, I like that word.
yeah,
Um, and I think just more, the collagen thing. So there's just more like plumpness in my face, not in a like not
amazing.
in a weight way, but you can see that. So,
Yeah,
and I've been taking these photos sort of every month, kind of just out of my own interest, and then potentially for this
yeah.
sort of use too. Yeah.
I love it. And yeah, the little skin tag there on the left, is that what you were referring to before?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
I have to put my
yeah.
glasses on for that, Vanessa. I'm waiting to not need the glasses anymore. I'm noticing
That's right.
changes there, but I won't. I'll let that one for later.
It's so exciting. No, I can see it on every level. We keep calling it the glow up for people as well. So, this is perfect. No, thank you for sharing. And
Thank you.
in terms of your impact, I know you just wanted to mention the fact that you get to talk about this now, not only to your clients, because a lot of people say, well, he's already, in front of people all the time. But you're thinking of people everywhere, aren't you? That you just want to keep telling about this opportunity to both here locally and overseas too.
Yeah, I think finally the thing. There's only so many people I see in, say, clinic in a day, and there's only and they're just like anyone else. They're interested or they're not interested or whatever. Just because, by the way, just because you're a healthcare practitioner doesn't mean they'll do what you say. I'm just going to say that right now. And one of the things that always has frustrated me, or is the limitation of the physicality of what I do. As in, someone can, I can advise people or whatever, or refer them to someone else. But this is something that my friends and relatives, and that I've got relatives in the States, all of a sudden they can benefit. So it's that idea that this is just a global business, and I can impact people's health around the world. So that excites me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Really appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time. And we have a really great guy who's been patching now just for a few months. His name is Mathew. Do you want to come off mute and just share what's been going on for you, Mathew?
Yeah, I've been having using the patches for about 60 days now. After just the first 24 hours, like I'd put the patch on and I'd notice like the heat and tingling on the back of my neck, and I thought, oh, this must be doing something good. And the first week I'd noticed my sleep was better and I wasn't tired in the afternoon. And after about 30 days, I noticed that my sore knee would not be sore so much, and I didn't need to use a brace when I was walking, and recovers quickly if I do lots of walking, and it gets a little bit of pain, and so it's going really good. And also I've been using the Aaron now as well, so that for about a month. And
Yeah, the
so I'm
Aeon.
not tired and got more energy and
Yeah, for the anti-inflammation. the Aeon. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron, is it Aeon?
Yeah. AEON. It's one of those targeted support patches that we do love to share about. We often say X39, if you had nothing else, that is going to do the regeneration of your stem cells. But the Aeon is going to fast track some of that work because, as Dr. Anton just said, if we can get down inflammation, then a lot of the root cause of disease is in inflammation. So when those stem cells begin to wake up, they choose what to prioritize in the body, and we can't always
Yeah.
target that priority. But if we can make sure they're not having to go to pain and inflammation by getting rid of inflammation quicker with that Aeon patch, then you're going to notice even more.
But
So it's
even
been
I've noticed at work, like I spend a lot of time on the computer and I don't feel fatigued after doing lots of complex work and complex brain work.
That's amazing, Matthew. And you've been so diligent. What I loved about starting to partner with you with this really as a
Yeah,
customer.
well, at first when I saw the webinar about it, I was felt so skeptical, and then when it come up the second time, I decided I'll join up.
It's amazing. Well, we're so glad to hear the story in 60 days. Gosh, if that much has happened in 60 days, we look forward to seeing what is going to continue to
Yeah,
happen.
well,
I know you're
even just being
tracking.
away, even just being away for the weekend and doing lots of walking up and down stairs and things which I wouldn't have normally been able to do without having to have a brace on and
Wow. So that's like quality for you, right? Being able to move
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And at 60 days, let's keep believing 90 and
Yeah, I've
longer.
been writing on my calendar the number of days each day as they put the patch on.
Good. That's amazing. I love that. And you're so diligent with your order. So thank you so much for sharing today, Matthew. I really
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
I have one more testimony that I pre-recorded, and I'm going to play it to you now because it's so wild. It's two women who had major heart issues going on, actually. And so, what I did is just capture their story. So, for this part of the presentation, we'll just listen to a testimony today. And this is actually Deborah is her name, and then Raylene will also speak. I'm gonna hear.
You
All
go,
right,
you go first, Raylene.
No, you
Raylene,
go
just
first.
bullet
Yeah,
point
go on.
some of the.
Oh,
Okay. All right,
okay,
Deborah.
okay.
Deborah just shared a little
Uh,
bit about her
uh,
heart
so
breakthrough.
immediate energy. Even now, if I am late putting the patches on, I can feel when I need to put them on because my energy by about 9 o'clock is like, oh boy, where's my patches? I'm starting to run out of steam. And so as soon as I put the patch on, it's like somebody flicks a switch on and I have lights turn on. It's just incredible. So that is amazing. The other thing, I was also seeing a chiropractor because I've got a lot of groin, had a hernia in my groin as well as the heart problem. And my intestine kept falling into it and twisting. So because we do massage, we do stomach massage, and my husband had to keep pulling it out every single day. Sometimes if I was gardening, it'd be like twice a day. He'd have to actually get in there and unhook it. And anyway, so when I went to the chiropractor about maybe 3 months ago, I said to her, is it my imagination or am I not feeling this little mountain that used to be there where this prolapse was or hernia was in my groin? And she said, no. She said, it's not there anymore. And she said, when I first started working on you about like maybe 2 months prior to that, she said, it was all fibrosy in your groin where the tissue felt really awful. And she said, that's completely gone as well. So and it's just like, where do you begin and end? I mean, if you could see my garden, that was a bare piece of ground when I first started. After I started the patches, it's completely covered in vegetables. I'm feeding the hordes at the moment because we have about 4 or 5 different families come to the clinic on our property. I reckon I've given away probably 80 kilos of zucchinis and and cucumbers and beans and you name it. It's just like, wow, this is amazing, and I have the energy to do it. So, and I love it. It's just who I am, I guess.
You're shining. Will you
Yeah,
just quickly share just the heart breakthrough, what was
yeah,
going on and what's happening now?
yep. So the heart breakthrough, I was basically unable to breathe. I felt like I had an elephant sitting on my chest and a bulldozer each side of my ribs crushing them in. And I couldn't walk I couldn't walk more than a meter because if I didn't have something to hang on to, I would basically was passing out. So my blood pressure was 88/63, and I would go, if you imagine shaking up a bottle of soft drink and taking the lid off, that fizzy, fuzzy, pins and needle feeling from my toes right up through my entire body, right down to my fingertips, and pain under my arms like you were going to have a heart attack. That was my symptoms back in basically March, April. And then that was when I started the patches about the beginning of March. The beginning of May. And then I saw the cardiologist at the end of May, and I got my diagnosis, and he basically said to me, right, I'm fairly certain that you're going to have open heart surgery and a valve replacement because the symptoms you have are so dramatic that, that's what I'm envisaging. So about the second week of October, I had a second echocardiograph, and he goes, as he's scratching his head and walking across the room ready to walk out the door, he's going, I don't think I'm going to need any more information. He said, I don't think we're going to need an angiogram. I don't think we're going to need anything. He said, and then I heard nothing. And then about the middle of November, I had a phone call from imaging going, oh, we need to see you for an angiogram. And I said to the girl, I was told basically that I didn't need one. Could you just check with the doctor to make sure that that is actually what needs to happen now? Anyway, about 3 weeks ago, I got my confirmation to say no surgery needed, nothing needs to happen. We'll keep a check on you every 6 months because it will get worse. And I went, not if I have anything to do with it.
How awesome is that? So these are the kind of stories that we hear every day, and we are so excited to see everyone we know love Patch and everyone we know really just get started on this technology. So I am just going to share what we love to say now is in terms of understanding how to purchase, you're going to go back to, I'll just take the picture down of Anton right there. You are going to go back to the brand partner that shares just these testimonials with you, and they love you enough to share it with you. And so you're going to go and say, tell me how to get started. They're going to help you choose a package that just really suits your budget and who you'll be patching, how many people in your family. We always say don't wait for your own story, because the more people that get this technology on at the same time, the more stories actually will accumulate, and you'll be so surprised how diverse those stories are. And don't keep it to yourself. Tell everyone. The mission of LifeWave is to get this into 1 billion homes so people can really have an increased hope for their health and their vitality. If you have questions, then the person that shared this with you will be able to answer. We say you're probably going to have more questions, and we'll guide you to resources that you need. The kind of places you can go already, though, are thisisit.info.com. It's our US based website. It's got our team leaders, our sales leaders, huge Florida passion. We love them. They even interview the inventor himself. There's patents and studies on the second page here. What is light therapy? How does it work? Interviews with regenerative doctors, athletes. Third page is hundreds of testimonies, which you can look through, video testimonies. Again, very US based because that's where the website has permission to be. But that's why we love to tell Australian and New Zealand stories as well, because there's thousands of people here patching. We also have a Facebook private group with over 2,000 people in it where we just share stories. We're going to say one more time, your body is unique. Your body is wired to heal itself given the right conditions. And so you just simply put a patch on every day and see what your body's going to do. So thank you for being part of our testimony call. To Dr. Anton, thank you for sharing today and for the impact you're making on our team and beyond. Mathew, thank you so much for sharing today your story as well. And to Deborah, who will hear this later, thank you that we could capture your story too. So appreciate everyone's time today.
Thanks, Vanessa. Thanks, man.
Amazing. Thank you.